Building Resilience and Sustainability in Africa's Future Tech. My name is Bosun Ayeni. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Compumetrics Solutions Limited and a board member of Digital Africa. It gives me great pleasure to welcome my panelists to this session, and it's going to be really exciting. This is the third day of Digital Africa, and already we've had a lot of great conversations that would move Africa forward. So join me to welcome our first panelist, Robin Raskin. Robin is the founder of Living in Digital Times, a passionate supporter of Digital Africa and a member of Digital Africa Global Advisory Board. She leads a team of technophiles who create top experts in latest innovation that look at the intersection of lifestyle and technology. Robin and her team have trademarked a number of events: the Last Gadget Standing, Digital Earth Summit, Fashion Wear, Fitness Tech Summit, Kids at Play, High-Tech Retailing, Wearable Tech Summit, and several others. And here in Nigeria, she has also done and displayed a lot of these shows here in Nigeria, previous editions of Digital Africa. She recently sold the company to focus on a new venture. So Robin is always moving on to new things. Solving for Tech, which is launching now. Robin is also a member of the Board of Trustees of CTA. That's the computer, what's CTA again? CTA Foundation.
Technology.
Consumer Technology Show, organizers of the CES conference in Las Vegas every year. And in our previous year, she was an editor, an early editor of PC Magazine and launched Family PC and Yahoo Tech. She's an author of 6 books and publisher of several blogs and TV shows and radio, and a leading thought and opinion shaping personality of what it means to be digital. Please join me to welcome Robin Raskin. Robin, thank you as always. The next panelist.
There.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. Thank you so much. The next panelist is Chimezie Chuta. Chimezie is an advisory board member of Genesis Money, Siemens, and formerly Regional Director for Africa at Paxful Incorporated. He is the founder of Blockchain Nigeria User Group, a Pro-10 chairman, organizer of Blockchain Technology User Group, Africa lead technology and innovation of Blockspace Africa Technologies, and CEO of TechBuild Innovation Partners and Lagos Drupal Varsity. He is also an author of a series of books, including Seizing Opportunities in Blockchain and Digital Currency Revolution, a handbook for enthusiasts, and Building Blocks of Blockchain Startup Entrepreneurs. He is involved in leading and organizing blockchain communities. As a result, he's been on a number of communities set up by the Nigerian stock market and financial regulatory agency groups. Please welcome Chimezie. Chimezie, thank you for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad
Next, I'd like to introduce another blockchain enthusiast. Chinedu Azodoh is a co-founder and chief growth officer of MAX.NG. MAX.NG is one of the leading technology innovation companies in Nigeria that have won quite a number of awards. It's a technology it's a company focused on building infrastructure for digital communication and blockchain. In 2015, he was invited to the Plug and Play Startup Acceleration, but decided to join TechStack New York Acceleration Program. And in 2017, he was admitted into the first XL Africa program and one of the 20 innovative companies across Africa leading growth and development. He was also admitted to the Alibaba e-Founder program organized by the global company Alibaba under the leadership of Jack Ma. And in 2018, he was admitted into the MasterCard Start Path program and won LAC Motion Mobility Competition. So he's done quite a lot. And of course, not the least, he was in 2019 listed as one of Forbes Africa 30 under 30. Great achiever is this man, Chinedu Azodoh. Please, my pleasure to have you on this panel. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Next is Adedayo Adebajo. Adedayo is a community manager at Jelurida. Jelurida is a global leader in making blockchain work for communities. He is a blockchain enthusiast and a former chat moderator. Later on became a support specialist at Poloniex Exchange, a USA cryptocurrency exchange. Currently, he leads support specialization and a community manager at Jelurida BV, a Switzerland-based blockchain software company, and also the managing director of Jelurida Africa. Adedayo, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this panel.
Thank you very much, Bosun. It's a pleasure to be here.
Finally, I have with me in the studio another software champion, an enthusiast, a software developer, coding instructor, CEO of Codeflare, a software company that developed and trains people on software here in Nigeria. And he is a Google Africa mobile web specialist scholar. Please join me to welcome Lawson Umachiko.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And it is indeed my great pleasure to share the studio with you. But just before we start, I would like, Lawson, I will start with those that are online. We're here to look at the resilience and sustainability of future tech in Africa. Of course, now when we talk about resilience and sustainability, we all know why we're having to discuss that. The way we live, play, work globally has changed. And Africa definitely is not an exception, all thanks to COVID-19. So, Robin, you as someone who consistently look at the global technology landscape and indeed driving a lot of thought in that space globally, how has COVID-19 changed the way we live, we work, and we play?
Well, thank you. It's funny. I've been thinking about it, and I thought about my own father, who used to say to me every day, always have a backup plan. And that's really what we're talking about here. Resilience means getting up, anticipating what can go wrong, and planning for it properly. So the areas I've been looking at, in particular in the U.S., is medicine, for one, and digital health. You know, before the pandemic, you went to visit the doctor. During the pandemic, everybody became a telehealth professional, whether you were a doctor in a hospital, a doctor in an office. And telehealth became a very accepted way to have treatment. Now the objective is to make that better treatment. So you're not just talking to the doctor, but you're getting vital signs and information. If you look at agriculture, we had backup plans, but we realize now more than ever that the supply chain, not having one supply chain but many, being able to plan for times of drought, being able to be resilient about land conditions, technology can help us. If you look at education, you have the whole world, millions of students learning remotely. We were not
Okay, Robin's connection seems to have been interrupted, so we would activate our backup plan. So while Robin comes back with our thoughts, I was just looking at Chimezie. You coordinate a lot of groups across Africa. You are one of the leaders
so
shaping thoughts around blockchain. Okay, Robin is back. in Africa.
And probably the last thing I'll say is smart cities. You all, and I've been to Abuja and Lagos, we could use better transportation. We could use a public transportation system that takes the pressure off of the city's infrastructure and makes it a more habitable place. So all of these things to me mean resilience.
Thank you, Robin. We would have a chance to hear you again. At some point, we missed out on some of the vital points you made. But I was going to ask Chimezie, from the African perspective, in what ways has technology intervention shown, especially at this time, that Africans are responding to the COVID-19 challenge?
Okay, thank you so much, Bosun. Surprisingly, Africa has done pretty well in this COVID-19 era. Because before now, no one would have expected or believed that a pandemic like this would possibly cut into Africa without taking millions of lives because of our natural unpreparedness based on the lack of infrastructure and systems that work. Okay, but surprisingly, we were able to do very well across different regions in Africa in both controlling the spread and managing the crisis itself. Technology played key roles in health. And like most of us in the industry have always talked about, we frogging techs in applying solutions that really solve problems using modern technologies. And it's evident in some of the things that were able to be put in place and done by several companies, tech companies across Africa. For instance, the Nigerian Nigerian company that is called a blood bank, was able to use technology to implement some easier ways that people could access test kits and also help in distribution of materials. You have a couple of logistic companies that were very handy, like Jumia and Konga. They were very handy in helping in logistic distribution of medical supplies and test kits. Okay, and for me, I really think that is really something to be proud about, that we were able to control at a very early stage the spread of COVID using technology. Because if you look back at the times when Nigeria used to have some kind of crisis and they were not able to manage them. I mean, physical crisis, probably you have a plane crash or you have a natural disaster and everybody is panicky and nobody is actually doing anything. But surprisingly, in this COVID era, we were able to do a lot more than could have been expected. I think a lot of people across the world clearly see that there's something that they could learn from Nigeria and the rest of Africa. Okay, so for me, I think that the fact that we have a very, very burgeoning and active tech community across Africa, we are much, much better positioned to build out solutions that solve real-life problems everywhere in Africa. The only challenge that we have in Africa is basically our government and our systems, okay? Those are the downsides of whatever goes on here. But the Nigerian people, the African people, the youth of this country, they are positioned and they are sufficiently technologically aware to know how to deploy solutions that work in times of crisis, just as they did during this COVID era.
Thank you so much, Chimezie. Truly, there's been a lot of successes and victories in the Africa tech space. As you know, mobile money has been quite successful especially in the eastern part of Africa, and perhaps moving downwards and northwards to Central West and the north of Africa. But throughout Africa, there is mobile money, but the huge success in East Africa. As we know, there's been several financial switching, collection, activating businesses, fintech across Africa. And in almost every African country, especially Nigeria, ICT is posting double digits contributions to the GDP of African countries. Now, Chinedu, I would like you to please share with us what are those additional tech interventions or achievements or successes that Africa has had before now. We know there are challenges. We'll come to that in a minute. But certainly, if you look, for example, at the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which estimates that by the year 2020, which we are now, that trade in Africa will grow to anything from $15 trillion to $29 trillion by 2060. And if you then bring in the thinking around Agenda 2063, which we will talk about later on during the panel, you will see that there is the focus on technology. So please share with us from your experience. You are also an inventor, an investment, a player in Africa. You own a tech business. What have your experience been in Africa in terms of where we are with technology?
So we've made a lot of progress. I think that's the key thing to say. If you think about, especially with the financial technology space, right, the Nigerian fintech industry, as far as like transfers is concerned, is one of the most developed. Even across the African transfer business is one of the most developed. If you think about it in the US, you have startups like Venmo and a few others who offer almost instant transfer, but it's not instant bank-to-bank transfer. To actually transfer the money from those wallet systems to your bank account takes about one business day. The interesting thing is that across Africa, East Africa, West Africa, you can literally do a transfer from someone's bank account to the next bank account instantly. That's a luxury that most people don't realize that we have, right? And I think the advantage we have in that space is because a lot of our systems were built later, so they were built on better thinking and better technology, right? So that's something that has been super helpful. If you think about proliferation of ICT, so it's
okay. Chinedu is also out. I noticed, of course, Robin, you were quite agreeing with Chinedu in terms of where Africa is and what it is we are doing. You want to step in, and you need to unmute your microphone, though.
I will put the words in his mouth that you are extremely well positioned. In the U.S., for example, we have a lot of legacy systems that we have to overcome. The banking system is 200 years old. We can go back to Alexander Hamilton. But you had the ability to be mobile and digital first, and that served you very well during COVID and even before COVID, where you were using digital currency much more fluidly. The benefit is that it is immutable and that you can see where it's going, and there's no middleman removing monies in between, and it's a peer-to-peer payment. So there's a lot of good infrastructure in the African fintech economy.
Great. Thank you so much, Robin. We looked at where Africa is. We've x-rayed Africa. We've looked at the successes. We know that technology is helping a great deal. But just before we move to sustainability, I would like Chinedu, if you just want to round up your thoughts on the point you were making earlier.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So if you think about what we've been able to achieve, especially with the telcos, the MTNs and co, who have done what we've done in this part of the world that don't exist in other parts of the world, where the telcos actually own the infrastructure for the entire network. What that has done is that they will take communication technology into more rural, peri-urban communities, and as a result, you have people in the village who are able to use proper telephone networks out here, where in places like the US, where different companies do different things, there's less alignment, right? Because the fact that the telcos do this infrastructure, actually MTN and co, they're able to work with a singular focus, despite what the cost of investment is, whereby
Okay, there we go again. The network challenges with the telcos. Everyone runs on telco network. So we'd like to go forge forward, look at sustainability. So Chinedu, be rest assured I'll come back to you in a few minutes. I know the telcos in Africa, throughout Africa, are doing a great job, but we can always make do with better quality connections. I'll come back to Chinedu in a few minutes. But let's look at sustainability. So, of course, where we are not doing badly. And the general assessment is that in certain areas, we're even doing better in Africa than the rest of the world due to some of the advantages that we have as a late starter. But looking forward, looking ahead, from today, African Union, which is the metamorphosed organization of the Organization of African Unity, has set an agenda for Africa in 2063 to mark the 100 years anniversary of the setup of the Organization of African Unity, which is now African Union. Agenda 2063 of the African Union set a number of aspirations for Africa. One of them is that Africa would be a prosperous continent based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Another is that Africa will be a peaceful and secure continent. They also hope that Africa will be led in good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and rule of law. And that development in Africa will be people-driven, relying on the potentials of African people, especially its women, youth, and children. The question I would like to ask is, these sustainable goals, aspirations that the African Union have set, are they sufficient? Do they reflect what Africa needs to aspire to be in 2063? Considering that that's some 43 or so years away. Adedayo, please, if you don't mind.
Oh,
Are
okay.
they sufficient?
Okay.
Will this take Africa, give us the resilient outlook? Are they sustainable? Is this where we need to be in 2063?
Okay. Thank you so much for the question, Bosun. Well, I have like a dual answer to that. I would say it's yes, and I would say it's no. And of course, I guess you asked me to explain. So, looking at the goals, the agendas, an in-depth understanding of the analysis will show that each aspiration has a goal, and of course, with all these goals, there are priority areas. So, I'd rather focus on the goals than a prioritized area than the aspiration. Basically, aspirations are just dreams, and the agenda made it known for us how they plan to realize that. So the goal is to provide a high standard of living for all citizens, with focus on areas like income, jobs, decent works, inequality, social security, and the likes. And also to have a healthy and well-nourished citizens with a focus on health and nutrition. So we have several goals, and also to include a united Africa with focus on frameworks and institutions, for united Africa, and to also have a world-class infrastructure crisscrosses across Africa with focus on communication and infrastructural connectivity. I will emphasize that. Communications and infrastructural connectivity. This is very, very important for digital transformation, for all other developments in the tech space. And of course, the goal is also to have democratic values, practices, universal principles of human rights, justice and the rule of law, entrenched with focus on democracy and good governance, human rights and justice of law. So if you look at all of this, so they present clear areas of concentration and of course required and supporting facilities to have a better future for all Africans. Now, there are several goals, but our take home from this is the fact that these goals and focus areas aren't about the present only, but a view of what Africa needs to be in several decades to come. Now, this is their own view of what Africa needs to be, or where Africa needs to be. And studying them carefully will reveal that these are truly goals, or these are truly what Africa needs to excel. With better governance, with what's it called, the inequality issue, gender discrimination, all being solved. and of course, within the unique sphere of the continent. So Africa will be known to have solved most of these issues. And of course, it creates a perfect platform for techpreneurs and of course technology to advance. But while we have goals on areas such as interconnectivity and communication to scale up our technological advancement, this is at the pivotal point of major innovations in realizing most other aspirations and the goals in providing jobs, good health, nourished citizens, and so on and so forth. So, in my own opinion, of course, yes, they reflect what Africa needs for sustainable future tech to a particular extent. Then, of course, what did I say no in the first instance? You see, although this is rather a conventional than factual opinion, if you ask me, but it's still based on prevailing observations, as it is a major represents a major factor in determining the success of Africa, and the failure of the agenda. It also needs to be considered. You see, it's no longer news when that we are great planners in Africa. I mean, we do the talk. You know, when we get to the podiums, we are great communicators, we are great planners. But when it comes to actualizing what we've taken years to plan, well, we all know. So what we need to do more of acting than more of planning and more of talking, and it's time to start acting more than we focus energy on talking and planning. You see, a well-known wise entrepreneur once said, a lot of people make mistakes trying to complete a plan with all the details in 5 years of operation, and even more, without laying a single block in that plan for several years, and most end up doing nothing. So the best way is to start a great journey is to start. You know, not just trying to cross a river before you get there. And Africa is very good at that. You know, we'll sit down and discuss and talk, but it's all talk and no action. So take it from those who tried to invent the electric bulb and only got it perfectly after the 99th attempt. You know, people will say they will definitely call them the crazy ones. But then it only takes somebody who's crazy enough to believe it can change the world, and usually does. And that is what Steve Jobs said. So out of the things that will catch up on innovation is basically regulation, the frameworks, and of course the extensive planning. But in the meantime, let's just do it already. So in my own opinion, yes, it's a yes and a no answer. And of course, we all have our own perspective for viewing it. Thank you.
Thanks, Adedayo. I mean, that was excellent argument. You made the case that yes, we're great at planning in Africa, and we do a very good job at that. But execution and making it happen is a challenge. Now, I'd like to push that argument a bit further. I'll still like to stay online just to take advantage of the network and access that we have now. So what technologies can we deploy now? I mean, one of the new things everybody is talking about is biomimicry. We need to look more to nature in order to develop technology and make technology work as close to nature as possible. So we have challenges with climate change, biotech, sustainable energy. What are those technology interventions we can do now that would make the difference as against planning and planning and planning? I'd like to go back to you first, Chimezie, and then I'll come back. I think this is one area where every technology speakers will want to address. So Chimezie, please, what technology, just one or two technologies so that we can have others also chip in a word or two in this space.
Okay, thank you, Bosun. Typically, the biggest challenge that we have in Africa is data, access to credible, trustworthy data, because those data doesn't really exist. And sometimes when they exist, they are not reliable. So, and everybody knows how important data is in planning and development. So you can't plan, you can't build anything, you can't sustainably forecast any future without available, reliable data. So in order to do that, we need to actually apply modern day technologies that can help us to organically, hack the data that we need without having the input from, suspicious sources. And one of such tools will be to apply artificial intelligence. Okay, AI is one tool that we can use to grab the real data that we are interested in, because AI can help you to pick this information without waiting for any individual to start writing reports or start feeding in any kind of information for you to work with. So top on the list of the technology that could make the impact that we need in Africa is AI. Okay, and once we're able to capture that data, then you come over to distributed ledger technologies like blockchain to secure and store them in an immutable way. Okay, and once we're able to have data that is reliable, secured, and stored in an immutable environment, then we can actually begin the journey, because then, the things that blockchain technology has in its native root, like transparency, immutability, and security, we can begin to tap into those ingredients to begin to build the kind of sustainable future that we actually desire. So that's, I know that other tech guys here also have their own opinions, but for me, I think the key there is you need the reliable organic data that will come in through AI. Then you need a storage infrastructure that is also completely away from anybody's control, immutable, and completely proof from tamper. So I'll just leave it at other great tech people here can lend their voice. Thank you, Bosun.
So Chinedu, you want to help us out? What are those technologies that Africa, earlier Adedayo told us that, look, we're great at planning. We have all the best plans in the world. Sometimes our plans are better than plans for even a lot more developed continents. But execution has always been the challenge of Africa. And he said, instead of planning, we need to start putting the blocks, the building block. Let's start now. So what are those technologies that we can start with that would begin to make the difference for the future that we aspire?
Okay, so that's a great point. The key thing is, from what we're seeing, is the building blocks to enable technology grow aggressively across Africa is not technology, right? The key thing that allows technology grow aggressively, right? A lot of governments are focused heavily today on driving taxation aggressively. They want to be able to collect money from everybody who's making it. And the challenge with that is they're focused on taking their share of the pie, not growing the pie. So if you look at economies like Nigeria, for example, the Nigerian economy shrunk, the GDP shrunk 6% in the last quarter. That's a disaster. And we're considered to not yet be in a recession. I'm worried about what this recession ends up looking like, right? And a lot of these kinds of things, a lot of that comes from how does governance support technology? You can innovate all you want. If the governing environment doesn't support your innovation, you might as well go to hell, right? So for context, for people who started businesses 5 years ago in Nigeria, the dollar was 150 local naira currency to a dollar. Today it's 480 naira local currency to a dollar, and there's like multiple different exchange rates. For businesses who are dependent on import, for example, so if you're thinking about things like if you're building technology for exchanges, for cryptocurrency, all these kinds of things, you're hiring engineers, you have people who are based outside the country, people who are based within the country, your costs are jumping 20-40% a month as the currency shifts, right? And so the question becomes, how do you protect against things like that, right? How do you, a lot of businesses are coming up in Nigeria being cryptocurrencies, for example. One bad regulatory decision can entirely blow up that industry across Nigeria. And that could also replicate itself across the continent. So I don't think that technology is what allows technology grow over the long term. I think governance is what allows technology become successful. Because governance is what makes or mars the technology. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of people who are in technology are playing, are playing kiddies play by themselves. If you don't, manage the regulators, involve governance, drive the decision making, and understand how these governments think. Because the reality is, if you don't align with a lot of the government organizations, at least at a very high level, the chances are that your innovation can be squashed overnight. And I think that's where the investment really should be. I think as companies grow, after the first year, second year, the third year, the founders really should be focused a lot on how do we begin to involve and get active with with government and governance, because that helps you drive policy that allows you to grow rapidly. That also helps you kill policy that can destroy your industry and destroy your businesses. So I think that's what the real investment is. And obviously, there are fewer people who can make those kinds of investments because it's expensive to work with government. But I think that's what That's what will see the long-term success of tech in Africa is government. It's not technology. So if you think about it, like we look at I like the telco example because I can go point to telco in Nigeria and point to the discos in Nigeria. In 2099, when the Obasanjo team, Obasanjo regime, put in place policies that were allowed to the MTN, Econet, and co come into the country, they wrote policies and put things in place that supported them and drove their growth. Today, Nigeria is one of the largest telco industries in the telco markets in the world, right? When the discos were privatized years ago, they didn't get that same level of support from the government because the government did not understand what it took to achieve what was done in the telco industry. Because of the different governments and all that stuff, they didn't understand what was needed to achieve this similar thing with the power industry. And as you can see today, the discos are in a very bad position. They're struggling. All that stuff around privatization was for talk and not enough results, right? So the key thing I think that drives that long-term success of technology across Africa is government and government policy. And that's what people should invest capital into it.
Excellent, Chinedu. Of course, we all know the strides and the impact. Personally, you've also had having to deal with policy issues in governance with your time, investment, and innovation. I would come back to policy in a bit. One of the biggest instruments across the African continent, at least that have given a policy pronouncement of where Africa desires to be, is Agenda 2063. Yeah? And in fairness to those who put it all together, as I look at this panel, I said to myself, I am sure that there are more people in this panel that are likely to be there in 2063 and reviewing the Agenda 2063's success or otherwise than most of the people who put those documents together. Now, having said this, I also know that this document have identified and prioritized certain projects. They have said that they want to create an e-network in Africa as part of the goals. They have identified that they want to be a focus on the Africa Outer Space Initiative to drive agriculture and have coverage, infrastructure, and so on. They have identified the need for an African virtual and e-university and a lot of focus on cybersecurity. I'd like to come to the studio now and ask Lawson. Lawson, I'm sure you'll be here in 2063.
Yeah, hopefully.
So this agenda is for you. I mean, you are going to be those leading the continent at that time. This project, and from what we've heard from our peers on the panel, who have indicated that yes, these projects are good, the technologies are fine. Perhaps we need to focus more on governance and policy. So first, these technologies, are they sufficient? This project, are there things that are missing out? Is this what you would need in 2063? And are there policy changes that we need to make and perhaps update the entire 2063 document?
Yeah, that's a good question, Simple. We should understand that innovation is an ongoing process. As long as we are still here on the planet, we'll always be innovating. But then we have lots of great plans, like one of the speaker noted. But then we have it's not just execution that we have challenge with. I think we have a problem of sustainability as well. Also, from my own experience, from what I can see in our own African sector, we have a problem. We have this drive of starting up things. We are so eager to start up this and start up this project and start up this foundation and this initiative. But then we have challenge when it comes to accountability. We have challenge when it comes to sustaining that move that we've started. And I think having that mindset of sustainability will go a long way to help us, the young people in future. And also when we look at having agendas for 2063, we need to start working on the plans that we have now. We need to look at our institutions. For instance, I studied physics in school. Okay. turn the software developer. Okay, but then you discover that in our training, I've been in ICT training for some time. I'm close to, I think, more than 5 years, and where I've worked with several teams. Most people that come to our training are computer science students. Yes, our computer science students. I know we'll be shocked to hear that. Okay, but then I can speak on that authority. Most people that come to our training, they come to take courses. Oh, I want to learn software development. I want to learn web design, cybersecurity. Those are computer science students. So I just teach them a little, and I'm like, okay, so what do they teach people in school? And things like that. They're like, no, they tell me, oh no, school. We just go to school. We just get the certificates, and then we are graduates. But then we discover that to have skill, which this pandemic actually, opened the eyes of so many people. I think so many parents. I think we saw a record increase of people wanting to learn software and being involved. Because I think in as much as it has the downsides, but I think for the most part, technology was thriving, during these periods. So I think we need to begin to look at those things. If there's a need for us to empower these private organizations, because I've noticed that it's private organizations, private enterprises, entrepreneurs, that start up these training schools, and these programs to help people, and then, bring out this project. We have lots of great ideas. We have, if you go to the App Store, if you go to the Play Store, you'll be surprised. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of apps. And then I've worked on some great app ideas myself. Okay, we have lots of these ideas, but one of the challenges that we have is sustainability. Being able to sustain these ideas and being able to have the right framework, the right policy for our institutions. So that means we're talking of things of accountability. Yes, we're talking of things of accountability. If you go to maybe in an average WhatsApp group, you see even just secondary school students, they're telling you, the posting WAEC, answers, and things like that. And this is not the kind of people, that we want, to raise in 2063. We want to raise people that are brilliant, people that are self-sufficient, people that can be able to take on the pattern that the generation is passing on to us. And to do that, we need to focus on the education on our institutions and do what it's necessary. If there's every need, because if you go to an institution, we shouldn't be learning, maybe a language like Kobo, okay, and then teaching programming on boards, and things like that. The things to do. We need this practical. We need a lot of practicals, aspect in terms of that, and then being able to make sure that the monies that are sent to those institutions to get those facilities ready, they are accounted for. So, to do that, first of all, we'll look at changing our policies, and then fighting corruption, so to say. So that will help us, be on a solid ground when we begin to work on these initiatives for the 2063.
Thanks, Lawson. Lawson, maybe in 2063 you will be the president of the African Union, because one of the goals is also to have Africa run as a single political, economic territory, and who knows what would happen by then. Well, you raised a lot of very, very salient points. We need to build capacity. Those are the people that will be running the economy at that time. And building capacity means the content, the teaching has to be relevant. We need to make sure that we create the right attitude. We also spoke about the policy and so on. So thank you so much. But back again to the issues around technologies and businesses. You pointed out that the pandemic opened the eyes, I think that was the expression you used, of several parents to the need to embrace technology.
Yes.
And that's a good point. So that's an upside to what has happened. Now, embracing technology hopefully would result in two things. We would have more skills and workers who will provide skills to the industry. And on the other side, we would have more innovators, entrepreneurs who would establish enterprise. And some people also to end up on the policy side, because we also tend to forget that, and then we'll come back around and complain that policy is the problem, right? And we also need to create a pool of the right set of people who are looking at the policy that impact financial fintech and financial and technology across board. The question I would like us to look at next is, does Africa stand the chance of going on this journey and sustainably creating large-scale tech enterprise? Robin, you've worked with all the big names. You've helped set up certain things within Yahoo. And today, I know you're on the board of CTA. Every year, you wine and dine with the presidents and leaders of the global tech companies. What does Africa need to do to create these giant tech companies that can be there on the global stage? We call them unicorns. We have a number of tech companies in Africa that have shown promise. A number of them have grown a couple of hundreds of millions of dollars. But we have not been able to demonstrate sustainability and growth at the scale of players who dominate the global stage. Is there a button we need to push in Africa to make this happen? Robin, did you get that? Did you
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I heard the whole question,
Okay.
but let me tell you what I think Africa's secret sauce is, and that's sharing data. You have enormous amounts of data. You have a big population. You have a huge continent, and where you're
Okay.
you can bypass. Can you hear me? You can
Yes,
bypass single company by sharing data together. And I think it's so important for Africa to kind of set the stage of what it means to work collaboratively, because the next revolution will not be about a single company being a unicorn, but about a continent that can work together. And I'm going to couple that by saying you have two choices to look at right now. You can look at China, where the default is to relinquish your privacy, basically, for great data sets and AI. And you can look at the US, where there's much less of an appetite to relinquish that privacy. And you can decide where
again, Robin making an excellent point. The last point I think I heard, which is very, very instructive, is perhaps Africa need to work out its own future. We can look at what's happening in Asia and then in America around data privacy and how it has impacted on the economy and the role of the tech companies. So whilst in China and some part of Asia, there is a lot more control and giving up your privacy for the greater good. In America, it's the reverse. And both seems to be working, isn't it, in their own ways. Now, what is the situation and the story for Africa? We need to work something out. Robin, that's what you're saying.
Exactly. And I leave that to the experts on the panel. To where do you stand on the continuum between absolute data collection and giving people the right to opt in? Because your power really lies in the size of the data sets you can supply to the world.
Okay, thanks, Robin. I know Chimezie is itching to say something on this because as a blockchain advocate, I know already you will say it's got to be distributed, it's got to be open, we need to let people do their own thing. But can you, let's have your view on this real quick. So, where should Africa be and how can we get there?
Thank you again, Bosun. A lot of people are not aware that a lot of new tools have become available to better empower individuals to manage their privacy the way they want. And these tools are being used to build out fantastic applications on top of the blockchain technology, where you have to basically sign off your personal data with a digital signature, deciding on what you want to have available for public access and what you don't want to have available for public access. And that's actually going to make a whole lot of difference as far as managing personal data is concerned. Now, a lot we give out data without understanding the implication, okay, especially personal data. But blockchain technology provides us with some kind of we can utilize to actually solve that problem. Okay. The network has been very, very terrible this morning, and I don't know exactly why. But the point I'm trying to make is to build out new solutions on top of distributed databases and blockchains. And these tools will enable individuals to be able to manage and control their personal data without actually in any way I don't know, but did I pass any information across the network has been very bad.
You said there are tools to give people the capabilities to control their personal data. They sign digitally without in any way compromising their privacy. We hear the loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So with such tools being deployed, with such solutions being deployed, I believe strongly that it will greatly also empower individuals, because data is money. People can earn money with just their data, okay? And you see a lot of people have medical records, the whole lot of economic advantage that we can harvest using these new tools and these new technologies to grab this data and make them actually, valuable. And people can actually pay to have access to them. And that's part of the overall economic robustness that exists in uncharted territories that are lying waste across different countries in Africa. So I believe that no matter what the policies that government are bringing forward will look like, innovations will always be ahead of regulations and policies. Yes, they may come up with regulations and policies that may destroy businesses. But remember that government needs the industries to function before it can actually run, because government needs taxes. They need some type of revenue to be able to operate as government the way they're supposed to be. Forget about the fact that we could drill oil and sell and do the things the way we like, the way we want. But, these things, they have timeline. The big oil now is actually data. The big oil is in the technology environment. And the revenues that can come from that, if government enables them, is quite huge. And that's not something that anybody can begin to quantify at this very moment. Okay? So we need to understand that government needs a functional technology space. Government needs to have these innovations thrive. Government needs to create those enabling environment, whether they like it or not. Okay, we all know how these policies have affected some tech companies and all that, but that does not mean in any way that innovations will not keep moving forward, irrespective of government policies and whatever opinions that they have in those quarters, because you can't stop people from innovating. That's a fact. You cannot stop people from innovating, and they will keep innovating until government sees a buy-in that will be to their advantage. We've worked with several of these agencies, and we know strongly that they need this technology. They need this innovation to thrive. They need to keep at par with the development. And they are all, in fairness to them, they are all eager to catch up on what is going on in those industries. Thank you, Bosun.
Thanks, Chimezie. As we wrap up, I'd like us to prepare our closing thoughts. A lot of points have been made already. Yes, Africa has achieved a lot of great strides in the technology space. We have demonstrated our resilience, and unlike other aspects of life, where Africa is always lagging behind most of the rest of the world, we have indeed agreed that there are some areas of technology where Africa has demonstrated leadership in the application of technology especially. Yes, this has been attributed to the fact that we do not have a lot of legacy issue, and we do have a lot of hunger and a very young and vibrant population that is willing to do things by themselves for themselves. And that we are getting done. We then have highlighted that perhaps the bigger challenge for us as Africans in sustaining these achievements. So, in view of this and where we are as we wrap up, I would like each of you to clearly give us something we can take away. What can we do differently? How do we crack the nut on sustainability in terms of our tech successes and guaranteeing the future of tech in Africa? So I'd like to start with you, Chinedu. In 1-2 minutes, your wrap up on your thoughts, and I would like to see emphasis on sustainability. What do we need to do differently going forward? Hello, Chinedu, did you get that? Did you hear me?
No, I didn't get that. Can you take that again? It was breaking.
I gave a quick synopsis of a summary of some of the key points you have all raised, and that we've all agreed that Africa tech industry and players are strongly committed. There are a number of areas where we've demonstrated leadership. We're ahead of the curve in terms of use of tech, ahead of most parts or regions of the world. But our challenge, clearly, as we all agree, is sustainability. And that sometimes causes huge disruptions. So as you give us your wrap-up, I'd like for you to give us specific takeaways that we can execute on in order to improve and guarantee the future of tech for Africa.
All right, solid. So the thing about the future of tech for Africa, sustainability, we're all talking and thinking long term, right? The one thing that I think with long term across Africa is governance. I mean, I feel like I will continue to hammer on this, right? So I want to talk about governance here. I think what a key thing that will help drive tech sustainability is organizing. So when we talk about organizing, we talk about organizing and like building like power groups, right? That actually go out and attempt to influence government. The key thing today is when you think about a lot of people in tech, I'm doing my tech, government is doing their own thing. I don't have business with them. And that's how a lot of people think. The challenge is that for you to be sustainable, which means to be able to last the test of time, you must have a business with the government, right? And that comes from understanding how does the government operate, right? First, understand how the government operates and start to engage government, right? Start to engage government as quickly and as early as possible, right? Because one, that allows you to understand how government is thinking, catch the red flags, but also become a source of knowledge and truth and understanding for the government. Because the government, a lot of people in the government don't know. They might want to be helpful, but they don't know and they don't have information. The way you help them make better decisions is by connecting, providing, some level of information, not the actual information, but guidance, right? And then helping them make the right decisions. I think that's something that will be critical. Another thing is, so my experience is that tech and startups in Africa are overtrained and underfunded, right? Everybody has a training program for startups and for founders and so on and so forth. And the value of a lot of these training programs, while initially is because there's no long-term value because a lot of these people don't have the opportunities to do other things. So what I'm talking about here is really like looking at funding. There's a lot of people who have money in Africa who are not funding because they don't understand the technology space and technology industry. I think as entrepreneurs, as founders, we also then have a responsibility to start to fund other companies that are starting earlier than us, where you make small money, you invest in other companies, make small money, invest in other companies, so that you can help drive their own success and long term, right? Another thing that will help tech companies or tech become more sustainable in Nigeria or across Africa, is building bigger organizations. So what do I mean? Everybody joins the company, they work for 1 year, they want to go and start their own company. Join the company, want to go and start their own company. The problem is that you have a massively fragmented industry, right? Now, building big businesses is not just about building technology. It's focused on, which is what drives sustainability. That comes from making investments in organizational governance in terms of how do we run our own organizations? How do we think about governance? How do we think about compliance? Things like that. That's one. And two is, as people who own companies or are founders or directors, executives, how do you build a culture that drives growth and retention of your people? That means not waking up one day and yelling at people or taking company money and not paying salary. You take your girlfriend on holiday or your wife on this or your family on that. It's a lot of those cultural things that destroy us as people that we need to actually watch out for. I don't think the technology is really the problem because you see, as long as the environment exists, as long as people can make money from it, technology will continue to grow. The real key issue here is our entrepreneurs, our businesses, our executives, and directors building the right environment for people to want to invest. I mean, if you look at the medical industry in Nigeria, there are strikes every other week, right, by medical doctors because they've not been paid salary, they've not been paid this, they've not been paid that. So the doctors are incentivized to leave to start their own businesses, but they don't build something big.
All right. Thank you. I know if I let you, you can go on and on and on and on and on. You've made three very, very vital points, maybe 4 or 5. But I would like to assure you now that we'll be coming back to you on executing on some of this point. So you have said that we need to create a critical mass that can engage government and make sure things happen the right way. You have said that organizations need to think about becoming bigger. Fragment is not good. You have also said, paraphrasing, that whilst everyone says government does not have business in business, but businesses have business in government. So that's one key point you have made, and that businesses need to understand that it is their job to have business in government. Thank you so much, Chinedu. Thanks for your thoughts. Adedayo, please, in 1 minute, closing thoughts. We run out of time, so that we can.
All right.
Conclude this.
Thank you for the opportunity, Bosun. So, to start, I just recorded a friend of mine sent me a link from BBC News just today about Chinese phones with built-in malwares sold in Africa, which are usually actually stealing our data and sending it back to China. I think this was a recent BBC News. So I'll say this and I'll keep emphasizing. We all are also entitled to our own opinions. So to build resilient and sustainable Africa's future tech, we need more of local training, local empowerment, and more of local content in our development. So this is very, very important according to my own perspective of view intents. So in a way to build resilience in the technology itself before its deliverables, we need to look at who developed it. I mean, in case it fails, who is available to resync, rebuild, reboot, repair, and which brings us to the need of more local techpreneurs. So, and I mean, we have about 1.3 billion population in Africa. So, are we now saying that instead of saying within Africa to develop our own solution for our own consumption, we need to go outside of the continent? The answer basically is no. So we need to train more of local techpreneurs, local empowerments, and more of to have more of local content in our development. And also for an innovation to be sustainable in Africa, there is need to personalize for Africa within the continent alone. Not replicating a solution done within the for the Western world. So according to what was discussed earlier on, biomimicry of policy is the solution. So Africa still remains the continent with the best climate. So the climate change technologies aren't and probably shouldn't really be our priority on the list on our list either. Well, biotech. Well, we have several other technologies, and of course, we can definitely talk about sustainable energy solutions, which, of course, we can also talk about the others like IoT, like Chimezie said, blockchain, and among others. But like I said earlier on, the best way to do this is to let an African develop the solution to solve an integral problem, which mostly can be recurring, and then with the perception of the future changes and the needs. So which still reflects back to the need of more local content. So to summarize it all, I'll say let's just do something before we talk extensively, about it, and not extensively before we do it. So let's just start doing something.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adedayo. Chimezie, 30 seconds. You have something you want to add to what you've said already?
Governments are paying should also pay such technology. Most African set up a ministry focus in new technologies, drive economic development doing at this time. In dedicated to technology entirety in African countries. I believe that will help technology without a dedicated on innovation.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chimezie. I'd like to take the last wrap up from my colleague here that we're sharing the stage together. Lawson, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I think our government needs to wake up, not wait for maybe when a pandemic hits before we begin to realize that there is something we can do. So I think the earlier we take advantage of the digitalization and transformation that's happening across African landscape, making investments in e-health, e-trade, e-justice system, and making sure that all these things are in place, we get ourselves ready and able to withstand whatever it's coming in the years ahead.
Thank you so much, Lawson. Thank you all the panelists, Lawson, Adedayo, Chimezie, Chinedu, and of course, Robin. It's been my pleasure to moderate this session. We've heard so much about where Africa is coming from, where we are, our resilience, and how we need to sustain the future tech of Africa. We'll be coming back to all of you and to all the viewers, and indeed the whole of Africa, on this executable action point. I have to put the expression in that manner. Executable action point is deliberate. So thank you all so much. See you soon. We'll go into a fireside chat shortly. It's been my privilege to anchor and moderate this session. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you.